as we understand, as storytelling is the backbone of everything. As say Ed, we are artists. So I will not definitely continue on this base. I prefer, regarding the time, to focus on character, because after the storytelling, after the universal theme and idea, the narrative structure, the sense is very important. And characters. Characters are, to my opinion, the key to the emotional attachments. They serve as vessel to convey the narrative themes and engage the audience in the story. Each character should have clear motivation, internal or external conflicts, and meaningful character arc. These traits influence for sure their visual designs, animations, and even their interaction with the universe. I want to discuss a bit on how does the artistic design, silhouette, posture, movement, expression serve the personality of the character, and how do we immediately make a character background readable regarding design or animation. In Arcane, for example, on Arcane, how did you approach animation in a specific way to serve the personality of each character? You've got a lot of character, and
definitely it starts with the design and the scripts and what is the narrative arc of this character through the episode and through the entire series. And you have a little bit to know about the background of the character as well. So we do have a small Bible. I remember when we started on the show telling us who is this character, what is his or her connection with the other characters, and what is his narrative arcs. And then we do have like a brief with the showrunner or the directors. And as animators, with all this information, we will explore and develop movements and acting that would fit this character. So it has always been a challenge every day on Arcane to make sure that each movement, each acting was really fitting this character. It was like a constant research of are we truth to him or her in his or her emotions? And it has been like a very long road. We did have, like you said, the voice recording, because we do work this way with the line of the actors and we animate on top. But on Arcane, we have the chance to have a lot of shots without dialogue. And they always tend to show, don't tell. So we had to explore this way as well a lot. But with the voice recording, and I remember, because with my team, we were the first team working on the first Jinx sequence with Silco on season 1. And I remember watching all the recording of Ella Purnell. And we kind of discovered that she was really acting when she was voice recording. Sometimes you have actors that would sit and would just talk, but some of them are really involved into the lines. And we tend to just pick attitude and facial mimics and the way she could even snap in her emotions was like really interesting. So it really started like this for Jinx as an example. But I don't know, I think I've covered it largely, but I don't know if it was enough detail. Making sense.
And as you said before, emotion and characterization through acting and animation is also action. Do you start with the body mechanics, body way to move of the body, or do you start with expression, or how do you connect face with body? And
we can say that Arcane is a drama, and 80% of the show is acting oriented. So depends of the shot. If you're like on a close-up shot, if you're like on a full body shot, obviously you will act differently because of the framing. But we do work a lot with references. So we shoot ourselves. So we spend a lot of hours in the reference room acting out, or some of the animators, they just kind of cut part of movies, of live action movies, and they say, well, I watched this movie with Jake Gyllenhaal lately, it was just awesome, it could really fit Silco, or I watched this movie with these actresses, and I really loved the way she was holding the silence before talking and how she thought process. And so we took this as base reference, and everything was always oriented towards emotion. And I think it was something very, very new as well to me and to all the team, is that every time we're working on a shot, it was always talking about what was feeling the character, what would be his emotion, why is it not working? And it was never about like the technical animation aspect. It was just about making those characters believable, tangible, and alive. Yeah, depend of the shots, but if it's close up, I will definitely start crafting the main facial expression. What we like to say is that as soon as you jump on the shot, on the cut, just one pose has to tell the story. So it's about crafting the body, all the angles of the character. Is he like sad? Is he mourning? Is he happy? It doesn't happen enough, I mean, a lot in Arcane, but, you know, and it's just about crafting all those poses and all the small emotions. So when it's in the edit and we watch it, it's clear for the audience that it works. And then it's about like making the movement and everything else, but it's about the main poses, really.
You agree if we define the style of the animation of our kind of a realistic style? Exaggerated a bit, but...
Yeah, I think it's not VFX, definitely. It's still stylized in terms of timing, spacing, to have something a little bit more sharp sometimes, but it tends with season 2 and the scope of the story to become even more subtle. So it's true that we were for something, we like to say naturalistic.
Naturalistic.
Naturalistic, not realistic, because we don't want to have the perfection of the small movements of the reality, otherwise it would have felt a very uncanny valley. But it's true that we're working with semi-realistic design, and this is something very important when it comes to animation. It's about like the story you're saying, I mean you're telling, but it's also about the artistic direction of your show. You know, if we had characters looking like ball or a square shape, very cartoony, you would have go for something even more stylized. But we do have human design with very human-specific aspects and aspects. So the audience will see anytime a movement or an emotion is totally off. So obviously, kinda, we had to tend for something more realistic because human is what we are and is what we know the best. You know, when we do animation, sometimes if we do an animation, I don't know, of a monster, or a cat, or whatever, sometimes if it's a little bit wrong, most of the audience, we will not see it unless you love cats and you say, no, my cat is not working this way. But when it comes to human, our eyes are so... we learn so much because we learn by doing what the others are doing. That's our process of learning, human. You know, like I'm a young dad, and I can see that every day that my son is like learning things without I'm telling him things. He's just like watching me and redoing what I do. And so that's why we know our spaces like perfectly. And anytime it looks a little bit wrong, it will be off for the audience. So that's why we choose this style on top of the story, obviously.
Is it what? Is this on? Oh, wait, no. I was just going to ask if you use improvisation on the show. When you're working with the actors, do they improvise at all, or is everything totally scripted?
Not everything is scripted. There are like there are many lines.
I mean,
Sometimes
yeah,
some of the lines are cut.
Is it all written out?
Yeah.
Is it? There's no improvisation.
No, there is no improvisation, but we always use like the voice recording as just a small reference, but we always tend to act ourselves as animator. So we do have like a room at the studio that is made for that. We have cameras, we have props, we have matrices, fake weapons, everything. So we act out every shot just to find the correct motion. And the biggest work of it is like, we don't want like Marshall to be in Silco. We need to make sure that it's Silco. So we will do the references to just study the movements, study the emotional process, but then we need to make sure it fits the character, and there is always a work of adaptation.
Yeah.
But the improv, we will do the improv ourselves, mostly on all the shots that don't have dialogue. Obviously, you can explore many different way of acting out, and for us, it's a way to gain some time as well, because when you go in the reference room and you have to animate a shot of 4 seconds and you spend like 40 minutes trying many different take. If I would have to do all those take in animation, it would have taken like maybe 6 months. And when I got all those videos, we can go see the directors and be like, okay, I've got several propositions. Is there one that fits your expectation? Okay, maybe try this way because I can feel it works nice. So it's always like a prep work or a work.
Yeah, thank you.
You have a very fine tuning on the facial animation, very delicate emotion and animation. What was the main difficulty? Were you limited by the visual design, textures and lighting, for example, and that light is baked a little bit? Did you have limitation regarding the transcription of the acting to the character?
It's true that that what we animate and what we see on the final shot sometimes can look a little bit different because of the graphical aspect. But even though it's something we kind of take in consideration, it never affected the animation direction on any shots. It's true that our render and the compositing on the shot look a little bit more flat. We can lose some muscle lines on the facial, but we did improve through the episodes and bring some 2D lines on the face to make sure we can reinforce some of the emotions. And it's true that what we have to care about is the cameras, because Arcane is half 2D and 3D show. So we do have like almost 95% of the background, they are matte painting, so it's only 2D. And it's based on the camera. So we can do everything we want on the camera. All of the things are very locked ahead. And that's how we gain some productive time as well.
More generally, a question to you, Ed. Does the chosen animation style influence the types of stories that can be effectively told? Does realistic animation work better for dramatic narratives, for example, while an exaggerated style suit fantasy or comedy stories? What's your opinion about that?
Well, some people are better at comedy. You know, people are, they have their specialties that they do. Some people are stronger. Also, with actors, I have this theory about Robert De Niro that, you know, it's like if you think of actors as racehorses, you've got you've got the thoroughbreds, you've got the ones that win all the races, and then you've got all the other horses. Somebody like Robert De Niro, you know that expression that he has on his face all the time? This thing, he does this. Robert De Niro, he's all the time got a frown on his face. And I believe that this makes him, it's easier for him to act. Because if he gets up in the middle of the night and goes to the refrigerator to get some milk, he has conflict. It doesn't matter what he's doing. It doesn't matter what he's saying. He naturally has this thing. So does Al Pacino, Robert Duvall. Some of the biggest actors, they have this permanent sort of scowl. And you need conflict. And these people are just like thoroughbred horses. They cannot act badly because they have built-in conflict, no matter what they do. But actors have specialties. I was an actor for 30 years. And so I played supporting roles, character. I was the school teacher. I was the detective. I was the employment counselor. I was all these things, the supporting roles, and it was just character stuff that you could do. But I was not a leading man, clearly, but that's what I could do. I could do comedy. I was very good at playing somebody who's not very smart but thinks he is. It was. It was. It was the character I could play. Anyway, I don't know if I answered your question, but every actor has a sweet spot. Okay? And I mean, with the show that you've got, the girls, they have something that they do, and they have chemistry together, those two women, and they're well cast, I think. You know.
Yeah, I think the voice casting on the show is really neat. I mean, they spend I think they said like maybe more than a year or 2 years before finding the right voice for Jinx. I remember Christian, the showrunner on season 1, kind of telling. He had like some recording of other actresses, and we kind of hear it, and it was good, but it was not good enough for what he was expecting for this character. So when they find it and we received the voices, everyone at the studio was like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be tough to." Animate and having something that kind of match this very high standard acting we can hear, you know. So it was like such a cool challenge. And Haley Seinfeld that plays Vi is really internal, the way she acts and she talk. And I mean, yeah, they are really class actresses.
So another question, a bit different regarding Arcane 2. In Arcane 2, music video feature a visual identity that slightly differ from the overall style of the series. How did you balance this difference to ensure that remain coherent with the Arcane universe?
So why we do have so much clip as well on Arcane? Yeah, because the script was too dense. Like when they done the script of season 1, it wasn't fitting for 9 episodes. It was like it has been written for 12, maybe 13 episodes. So the bosses at Partie said, okay, we can't do it on 9 episodes. It's too dense. There are too many characters. There's too much to say. Like the war that we see in season 2 were supposed to be in season 1, and like no, there is too many things. We need to finish this first season the way it started, like a family on a family aspect. So they made like a second season to make sure we could fit. But on the second season, they bring more narrative arcs that feels that sometimes maybe I don't know if you watch it, but it could feel sometimes a little bit rushed because there was still too many things to say. So for Tish originally, it's a studio that used to do a video clip, music clip, and that really has a DNA for it. And for us, basically, having those clips, even though can seem an easy trick for some people, it allows us in a very short amount of time to tell a lot of things. So instead of having 30 minutes of the task force and the character being in zone and kind of investigating to search for jinx, we can do it in a 2-minute clip with splash arts and with very visual catchy images that can sell that. And then you can move on with the story. We do have this very 3D, 2D style. You know, that even though you keep on exploring, it will never feel really off, because if you stay honest to the original material and you don't go too far, it's still a workout. And even though like the sequences in watercolor, I think it does work. It looks beautiful, but the way we worked it in 3D. We did all the poses in 3D, and then we bring an artist to just like paint out the 3D with like watercolor. And I did forget her name, but she's the co-director of Les Hirondelles de Kaboul. Okay. And she did like an insane job on that. It looks wonderful.
And did the music influence the video or the inverse? Oh, do you deal with that?
Music is a very important part of Arcane, because Riot, they does have this music department that has been originally created by Christian Linke, which is the Arcane showrunner. So he used to be on a rock band, German rock band back then. So his main expertise come from music. On season 1, the music tends to came after we animated the sequences. So we were working on the temp music. So we did have like music from Kanye West, the Pixies, Nirvana, all of those very iconic songs that everyone know. And they would do music after we deliver the sequences. On season 2, they tend to work closer with us, so we could animate on top of the original score. So, for example, if everyone has seen the season 2, there is like a dance sequence in episode 7 with the song is from Stromae and Pomme. We didn't have the song originally, so we worked the scene on Juliette Armanet. And then when they were animating, we did have like a temp recording of Stromae on his own, because Pomme wasn't on the game yet. And it's a really nice way, because when we do have the final music, we can be even more accurate on the editing, framing aspects on all the sequences. So yeah, it depends if they had the music or not. But on season 2, we did have more the music. The Woodkid song, for example, came very early in the process. So they built all the end of episode 3 based on the song.
And does the animator has liberty on these sequences, or was it very directed?
What is liberty?
No,
I'm joking. No, but because it's a good point, because the fact that Arcane worked is a combination of so many things. I mean, this show basically shouldn't exist. It's just it almost comes from nowhere, and the fact that we had this as a final product. I mean, I don't like to say that, but as a final series, is just insane. And it started with trust. It started with trust. Riot, they were coming from video games. They wanted to do feature animation, but they didn't know how. So they contacted like Fortiche, which they had like a very long partnership. and they trusted them. And for Tish, they didn't have like the experience for animated feature, so they had to build. And all this trust that started with Christian at Riot and Pascal, Jérôme, and Arnaud at Vortige, just was the basis of all the studio, construction and development. And the artists, they did have like a lot of involvement in the show. And if the animation is a success, it's because they really like were so connected to the character. They were like always propose things. They were always saying like, we should try this, we should go this way. I think that with everything the character has been through, I think we should try to go with this type of acting because it will connect with this scene from this episode. And we do have a storyboard that is what we call the Bible at Vortige, because it's everything that lock all the production aspects, and we try to be faithful to the storyboard. But sometimes it's true that the way we animate the character and the way the series evolve, the storyboards tend to be maybe a little bit off on the latest episodes. So we had to reinvent a little bit the acting choices. Sometimes we change everything. Sometimes we stay very faithful. And this is how like the animator gets his or her liberty to find something that would,
What is the... It's 2 seasons, right? 2? It was supposed to be 5.
Well, I mean, it was not supposed to be 5. It's just like...
That's wrong?
I mean...
I just read that.
When they went... No, but I know. But when we started season 1, they were like, we could tell stories for like maybe 5 seasons. Originally, it was 1 season. Then it was too short, so they went for 2 seasons, and they were like, maybe we can extend to 5, but without, I think, staying in Zone and Piltover and moving out. And I think in the end, Arcane is telling the story of Jinx, Vi, Zone, and Piltover, and finishing this on 2 seasons is great before maybe heading somewhere else on other formats.
So it works with 2 seasons.
Yeah. Because
beginning, middle, and an end. It works.
And it works as a trilogy because it works with episode 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
And
are you already working on something else?
We're working on
secret project
stuff.
Is that a bad question?
Obviously no, but obviously there are like.
I don't mean to ask a bad question.
No, it's not a bad question. It's a question that interests everyone. I know. No, we do have. Riot is the main partnership with Fortiche, and we do have like other project with them, smaller, longer. And we do develop things that are our own IP as well.
Okay.
And we are working with other studios as well to develop maybe other things.
Okay.
So like Fortige is now really opening to a different...
Okay, because you've done such a hell of a job, man. I mean, if there's anybody got a calling card with, you've got it. And you should be able to go wherever you want after this.
It's true that, I mean, I'm not on those type of discussion. I am just staying on the animation part. But I know that we've been contacted by many studios. And I think that any choices that will be made are from the bosses, and I think that something they want to be sure is that they keep the creative involvement and the direction. Yeah. So it's something that will drive all their decisions to have the control. And they have a very specific way of working at Fortiche. We're talking about like working in a collaborative way. I mean, animation for me is really the top art form because it's collaborative. You can do something on your own, but it will take ages, and you have to use all the skills and the abilities and the qualities of everyone. And it's really about sharing knowledge. It's about being there for your colleagues that may be sick, and you have to help him on a shot. It's always about working together. and it takes the best out of everyone. And at Fortiche, the bosses, they all have like a very specific main skills and main expertise of area, and that's why it works. Is because I'm good on this, so I will follow that. I'm good on this, I will follow that, and then at the end of the day, we'll talk together about the overall things, but we trust each other to work.
Yeah, a good answer. Thank you.
I believe a lot in what you say because, as you said before, Ed, we need to reinvent the sense of the storytelling of what we say in a movie or what we deal with the audience. And to my opinion, there is a big importance of the collaborative work between directors, writers, animators, to be sure that the direction reflects the main theme of the work. So that's very important. And before, and there were a lot of huge company, huge team for 100 people, 250 animators, and it seems to be impossible to ensure this collaboration with a lot of departments, a lot of specialties. And I believe a lot in smaller perhaps teams where this collaboration exists a lot. Since the writing, what do you think about that?
Well, the collaboration, everybody. I think that the people further down the pipeline should be involved more at the beginning. I really believe that strongly because, you've got, everybody has become, remember in the beginning we had generalists. That's what people were. They could do a lot of different things. But now we've got specialists. And so people live in a little cubicle. And when the thing comes across to them, then they do what they do and send it on to the next thing. I think we need to bring everybody together in the beginning so that everybody has a sense of the story that they're telling, and each person has authorship, regardless of their function in the pipeline. And to me, that's the main. I wish more for that. I wish that we could get more of. I don't know another way to put it. It bothers me that animators don't start in until after rigging, and they should be involved really at the beginning when they're developing characters, when they're defining them, character descriptions, all of that. The animators should be there. They shouldn't just be waiting until somebody presents them with something and says, animate this.
I really believe in that. We discuss a lot of that with Anne. And I also believe that the writers, the real writers need to be aware of the pre-production and on some step of the production to ensure the feasibility in terms of doing a movie, not doing just a script, not a scenario, not a book. It's not a story for a book. It's a story for a movie or an animated movie.
Yeah, pre-production is should be a main part of a movie or a series. Sometimes in the budget planning, it's a small line, or sometimes it's a line that has been erased, and you just start in production, and you have to do everything and deliver and discover the character at the same time. But I totally agree with that. It's something that require budget though. But in Fortiche, the way we work is that once we do have the storyboards and the edits, we do have like a big meeting we call a lead sheet, which bring all the supervisors in the same room. And we would just talk about like, okay, how do we proceed to do that? Is it 2D FX? Is it 3D FX? Do we need a specific rigging? Okay, animation. What you will need from this character? So do we rig that? Do we rig that? Or we see it for 2 shots, we don't need it, so let's be more efficient. And you have compositing, and they are like, okay, what will be the lights? what's the atmosphere, etc. So everyone knows what the shots and the sequence will go through at any step, and we are aware of as well the storyline. So yeah.
A more generalist question, because we just have a quarter before launching the question. In terms of audience engagement, how does the evolution of pacing in animation affect the emotional experience? Do faster or slower pacing choices change the way the audience connect with the character or the story?
So if the characters are... Say that again, if they're slow, say that?
Yeah.
One more time.
How does the evolution of pacing in animation, rhythm of animation, affect the emotional experience of the audience? Do faster or slower pacing choices, rhythm, change the way the audience connect with the character of the story?
I think I mean, your show has a style. It has a pace to it. That every show has its own pace and dynamic. And the actors have a rhythm that they have to fit in there. And if you don't, you will stand out, you know. But yeah, there's definitely the pacing definitely affects the emotion. But again, I want to say that emotion is not actable. You can't act. There is no generic happy, no generic sad. You see, surprise, any of those, each person, it's true that the facial muscles do the same kind of things, facial action coding system and all that, but what causes people to express is quite differently and unique with each individual person. So one person may be very surprised and not show it. They may act as if they knew it all along, and they didn't. So it has to do with the script. It has to do with the way the other actors, the other characters interact. There's a flow to it. But I keep coming back to this business of the emotions. Is you know, I've directed 2 or 3 plays in Portugal. Yeah, and I have a lot of trouble casting in Portugal because the style of acting in Portugal reminds me a lot of Telemundo, the stuff that you see in Mexico. So everybody is so, you know, they're so serious and everything. And they want to make sure the camera sees them in a certain way. You know, it's very dramatic. And when I'm casting and I'm trying to get the actors to stop doing that, you know, because you just want them to talk to each other. You know, it's like it does vary by culture a lot. I think by culture. That people develop a style. I had a very quick story. One of the plays when I was casting, I would have the actors read together. Okay, I would bring them in, and they had the script, and I would had them read together. And so here they come, and they're reading to each other. Okay, and I stopped them, and I said, no. I said, you need to relate to each other. I want to see you relate to each other. And I said, you're acting like it's a radio play. You're reading to each other. I want you to get that. And one of the actresses said, that's impossible. I said, no, it's not. I said, you can get the words, you can relate, you can listen to the other person, then look down, get the words, come back up. And she says to me, where were you trained? She's wanting to know where I was trained. And I said, it's okay. I said, you can do this. Auditioning is a skill. It's all a skill all by itself. You know, you relate to the other people. You relate to the actors. But this is the culture. The culture has a way, a color that it wants to do. And I'm the one out of place. I'm the one that came in from the U.S., and I'm in their territory. So it's up to me to figure out how to communicate with them. But anyway, all of this is sort of an answer to your question.
And I saw the references this morning with Alexis and the conference, and just a question: when you have two characters responding to each other, often we just see one part of one video of one character. Do you manage the references at two people doing the acting, separate in two camera? Do you play in front of each other for the reference, or you separate?
It really depends of how the artist is comfortable with references. But we tend to record and shoot ourselves together, because you will give like something that you not expect. I mean, if you're like acting on your own and you're supposed to talk to someone, but there is not this person in front of you, in terms of eye contact, eye direction, the way I will look in your eyes and then I will defocus and stuff, it will be more natural. It could be a little bit intimidating, especially that we are like acting out on some voice recording. So it's different skills because it's not the way we will. It's not the way we will talk ourselves. So, but sometimes it depends. Sometimes we go 2-3 people in the room. Sometimes we go just on our own. We take like a chair, we put a balloon, and we talk to the balloon. And, yeah, come on, you know. And there is always a way to find out. Especially when season 1, we made 70% of season 1. It was COVID, and most of the people were at home. So sometimes you had to talk to your fridge, or So, but now, yeah, we tend to go, especially as well for everything that is body mechanics and contact, and yeah.
Last question, we discuss about IA and deep learning as a tool, not being afraid of IA. How do you think the IA could enhance the human head on facial animation? We discussed about the micro moves of the eyes, for example. I think IA could help a lot regarding this kind of stuff. Do you have other enhancement in mind that can achieve the IA?
Let's say it really, you don't need to be afraid of this. And I do believe that it's going to get animation out of the uncanny valley. One of the reasons why so many characters in games they have dead eyes.
Fish eye. Dead fish.
Yeah, their eyes are dead. And this is the reason why so many games put glasses on them, or they have a hat, a mask, or something, so that people don't see those eyes, because they're terrible. And I've been trying for years to get the video game companies to do better eyes, and they tell me they put it off until the end. It's the last thing they do is the eyes, because it takes so much time. But with eyes, we have saccadic movement. Your eyes, when I look at you in the eyes, you look at each other, it appears as though our eyes are steady. We gaze into each other's eyes. However, your eyes are doing a triangle from here to here to here to here. They do this, and it's thousands of times a second. It's actually going so fast that it looks like it's not moving. Animators cannot do that. They can't do it. It's too time-consuming. They cannot possibly do saccadic movement. AI can do it, easy. easy. And I believe that you're just about to see a big leap forward in the credibility of gazes, of eyes, as soon as the studios start learning how to use AI to do the eyes. It's a big, big leap. But why be afraid of that? That's just going to help.
Yeah. No, I like to think that that AI will push us to be more creative. It's just like a tool. I see it as a tool. Like AI, even though we all seen like images, videos, or things that doesn't exist and that kind of look very convincing sometimes, it just do what it has been learning, and it will never propose something new or another point of view, and it will push us to not be lazy like Hollywood is right now, if I may. But it's true that it will help us or not to make some tasks that are like hard or time-consuming faster. Let's see it like you know, like the farmers on the 20th centuries. They used to be like 100 in the fields, and now they have like mechanics that help them to you know. But it's true that AI touched like something that is in terms of ethic and a lot of those aspects. But it's true that it touched jobs that we didn't think could be touched, like intellectual jobs and things that most of us were pushed 10, 20, 30 years ago to do long studies, because it's how the society pushed us, you know, to go further in learning and stuff like that. And now we do have AI that learn so fast and could replace some of those jobs. So it questioned more than just helping the very manual and travaux manuels fastidieux, si je puis dire. Sorry. But let's say that it depends the way we're going to use it. It's true that some of the people will use it on some stuff that we don't want to, but it's something that is there, and how you're going to use it, in which purpose. And I think it's really a collective responsibility about that.
You know, another thing that AI will do is the NPCs. You guys know about games. The NPC, you know what those are? Non-player characters. And these are, I've taught for most of the major game companies, and this has been a pet. I've complained about this forever, that the NPCs are boring. And that your main avatar, your main character, you could get more juice out of your main character if you did something with the NPCs, and that they actually should be following the rules of acting, the NPCs also. And the AI is going to help with this a lot. It's going to give them something to do, the NPCs. And it'll be, for games, it's going to be a big deal.
But yeah, even, you know, the 3D industry like evolved a lot. So I remember when I was studying animation, we used to do the texture on Photoshop, and now there is Marie, and you just like texturing in 3D. We used to, you know, it was like very time consuming. And I mean, AI, now it's like exploding because it's creating visual content, but we do use AI since a lot of time. I mean, the GPS, is it not an AI? It can just give you the actual traffic and change the road. And, you know, it's just like something that is already in our lives, but we're not seeing it clearly. And it's true that for those tasks like crowd, you know, it's something that costs a lot in movies, doing some crowd, but you need crowd if you want to have like a tangible universe, some environment that's are alive, and to have a very full shot. And it takes a lot of time creating those designs, creating those characters, animating them, etc. So maybe
Ridley Scott
Yeah.
Ridley Scott with Gladiator 2. He used to make all those crowds in the arena. He used that. He used AI to do them. They're not real. I'm sorry, they're not real.
And you have not a real added value to do crowd. The AI is better for that, I think.
If they don't have like a purpose, you know, if you go for World War Z, whatever we think about the movie, is it good or not, it's a personal feeling. But the way they made the zombie, they really had like a way of moving, of doing some waves and stuff. Even though they're using very advanced techniques, you have to have humans behind it to say, okay, no, I want this type of shapes, I want this type of flow, of timing. It's really, I see it like for very basic tasks, but it's true that with time, it will get better and better.
You know, for me, it's like, for example, procedural tools. It helps a lot. But last year, we had a feedback from the studio regarding the student works, for example. They say we don't need slider artists anymore. Because what is important to understand is like writing, is like making a story. You use a tool, it's not a definitive aspect you want at the end. You need the human hand, you need to do the little distortion, little deformation to be coherent and believable. I think it's very important, and it's a way to use also AI.
I mean, we'll have to adapt. I mean, it's part of why the human are still here. It's just we adapt to our environment, and we will need to adapt to what we create, actually. So.
Okay, so that's the time to. We are good to conclude. We have a quarter, 20 minutes to answer to question. If you have any question,
go. Hi. Thank you very much, and maybe it's stupid or naive, I don't know. You're an animator and an actor, and I was wondering, when we write stories, we write for conflict, and contrary to novels, we don't always put emotions in characters. We try to get them via the story and their actions, the way they act is telling of their emotions. And I was wondering, as an actor, how do you get these action and paint your character as with emotions that are real and focus on the character? And as an animator, how do you find the right way to animate? Arcan has a beautiful and very unique way of animation, and I guess you went through different thoughts of how to animate the story. So how do you find what way to animate or act to perfectly match the conflict and story of the script?
Well, I can tell you, as an actor, when you're acting in a film or in front of the camera, you are aware that they're going to do a master shot, and then they're going to do coverage. They're going to do close-ups this way, close-ups that way, they're going to do all this. So as far as emotion goes, you've got to get back to square one at the beginning of every shot. If you've got a scene where, for example, you had to break down and cry for some reason or something, you know that they've got to do this 2 or 3 times. So you work on ways to trigger. You've got to be in the present moment. Okay, every time you act is the first time. Even if you've done a scene, you're not repeating it. You're doing it again, and you're just hitting the same marks. I remember one time I had a movie I did, and I had to play the father of a girl who was killed by a serial killer. And I had to identify her body in the morgue. And So the audition took place in a boardroom, a very cold boardroom of a big company. And you had all these people sitting around, the people, the director, the producers, the writers. And so what I did was I used the room itself, and I pretended that what is my daughter doing in this room? And I used the actual room in order to stimulate myself and to be able to control that and turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. And also, I could not use my own daughter. I found that I could not. It would put me too much out of control. And so what I did was I had a little toy. And I took this toy and I put it in my pocket. It was a child's toy. Because when a child dies, what's lost is innocence. And that affects me. So right before the take, I would put my hand in my pocket and touch that thing. You see what it does? All I have to do is think about it. That's acting. What you just saw is acting right there. You saw it is for real. The tears are for real. But I just triggered it. Just like that. That's what actors do. Yeah. Anyway, they control them.
C'est ce qu'on essaye de faire humblement en animation. Pour répondre peut-être un peu plus sérieusement, en anglais. Yeah, I mean, that's what we try to do in a more humble way, but you have to project yourself in the character. You have to be in his or her mindset, like who is he, what is he doing, what is his purpose. We do have like a storyboard and a layout that help us really setting the overall things, but we have to go further. And I like to think that being an animator helps you experience your own emotion. And I think we are like acteurs par procuration. We are acting out through the puppet. So maybe we're too shy to be on stage or in front of everyone. But it's important like to understand that now, those days, animation is just not about like making character moves, and it's not just about like it's funny. It is funny. It can be funny. But now, like the content and the production, we will tend to go on more deeper characters and storytelling, and we do reference ourselves a lot from live action. Like if you have to act out, you go and you watch actors, you analyze how they do, and you create a knowledge from that you can bring in the rig and the character. So it's something that takes time, and that you have to keep on going. Like when you start drawing, your first drawing is really bad. It can be very naive, candid. It can have like a nice touch to it, but it's bad. And then it will take you 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 years to do like a drawing that you can say is okay, it's okay. And acting is a bit like that. You have to act, you have to be more comfortable, you have to practice a lot.
Do you ensure you never joke into the studio with all the team, each one a character and walking like your character?
Yeah, but it's true that when we're working, we do have like mirrors. So we do act out and shoot video references, but we do have mirrors. So anytime we have to push an expression, you have everyone working. So just like to understand like the motion, how you go from one expression to another, and yeah. So it's always funny. When I was working at Frame Store in London, we were not sitting only with animators. We were like randomly spared. And I remember like I was on the compositing floor, so they would like shut down like all the windows. It was like all dark, and they were working with like to make sure they have like the correct lighting and grading. And I was just next to him and just like acting out, you know. Just, and they would just like turn around. What are you doing, man? Are you sick? Or no, I'm an animator. Oh, you're an animator. It was a joke for them.
Just a little question about, do you think sometimes animation is a better choice than live action to give more emotion? Sorry.
No, don't be.
It's not a trap.
No, I think it's really like the story, the quality of the story, the quality of the character you develop. You can have like really bad live action movies that you will not have any emotions, and you will maybe watch like a 2 minutes cartoon that will be very more sensitive, and it's always about like the directing and about like Ed was saying earlier, and just like what do you have to say, what is the purpose of your story, what do you want to tell to the audience, and as long as you're honest and sincere, I think you can bring emotion whether the media you choose, honestly. Yeah.
Thank you. Ouais, ça me plaît bien comme réponse. Je m'attendais un peu à cette réponse. Merci en tout cas.
But just to finish, maybe like in animation, it's something that is still different from animation and live action is the length of the shot. You know, doing a very long shot in animation takes a long time. Like the performance that Ed just done here, like it took him like 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds before he was starting being the character, and then it act out. And I will ask him, you're doing it with maybe your hand like this, and it will act out this way. And in 15 minutes, I will have maybe 20 takes. In animation, doing this 15 seconds acting will take me maybe a month and a half. So it's really the time you have to do it, the style you want, and how far you go in the details. It's always production costs, but we can do anything in animation. And I think the great thing about animation, and why, in my point of view, all the cinematic Marvel universe doesn't really work, is that it looks a bit wrong. Like there is no, it doesn't work for me. But when you watch the Spider-Verse from Sony, it works because it makes sense, because it's from a comics and it's adapted in animated, and you can buy the fact that it's not real, because graphically you can explore even more things. You can do whatever you want, like in animation. And as long as you have like a creativity and a universe to bring, I think it makes more sense to bring it in animated feature, because you don't have any boundaries. And when you want to adapt it to the live and to be settled in our world, you will always confront to
the difficulty of the shooting part too, or the shooting set, because if you have a tracking camera, it's complex too.
La crédibilité en fait aussi.
I just wanted to tell you a very quick, I think it's a very amusing story. You guys know who Brad Bird is, right? Brad Bird, he directed The Incredibles, the Ratatouille, various movies at Pixar. So Brad directed Mission Impossible, one of those movies. It was his first live action. And he tells a story that he was on location, and he's got Tom Cruise and they're doing the scene. And Brad is now directing this first live action movie. And he says, okay, we're rolling and action. And they started up the scene. And they got about halfway through the scene, and he says, and cut. Okay. And so he said, do it again from the top. So they come back, they do it again. He says, okay, we're rolling and action. And they started up thinking, they get about halfway through, and he says, and cut. He says, he did this 2 or 3 times. And the cinematographer, who had made many movies, said, Brad, you got to let him finish the scene. And he said, but I'm not going to use it. He said, I'm not going to use that. I know I'm not going to use it. I don't need him to do it. And they said, this is live action. You have to collaborate with the actors. You have to let them act. He says, you can't control them like you do animators. He said, even though you know what you're going to use, you have to let the actors act. And he said it was a big lesson for him about the difference between directing live action and directing animation. Is that in animation, you edit in your head, and in live action, you shoot the stuff and then look at it. I like that. I like this story.
Yes. I have a question about acting and dubbing, because in animated movies or series, as you said, dubbing is actually acting. You talked about Portugal, but in specificity of Europe is that we have many countries, many languages, many ways of acting. And so my question is really, in France, in particular, we have, for blockbusters, for example, we have major actors who are performing for that. And my question is, how do you tackle that in a model where, for example, in Netflix, you have many countries where you distribute your films, your animated films. So, and I'm very curious about the differences depending to the countries.
Do you want to talk about that? No, it's a good question. Sometimes they hire me to consult on movies, on the development of a film, and I remember I was working on one in Egypt, in Cairo. And they had a script. It was a marvelous script, except that they had people praying a lot. They were praying. They do a lot of praying in Cairo. And I said to them, I said, where do you want the movie to play? And they said, everywhere. And I said, well, then you're going to have to take out the religion. You're going to have to convert it to its philosophical equivalent. And I said, because this isn't going to, you can't write off the United States and China. And you are, if you keep all this in here. It'll play in Egypt, but it's not going to move. It's not going to travel. And so they did. They changed it. But I've seen this kind of situation. You have to be mindful of where you want your movie to play. And you got to stick with universals. I remember I saw that movie, the Disney movie with the Day of the Dead. What was the name?
Coco.
I was teaching in Jilin, China, up near Mongolia. And my students took me to the movie, and we see Coco. And I'm the only Caucasian there. Everybody's Chinese. And the movie is playing, and I looked around, and I could see that they were very moved. They were very emotional. People were crying. They were laughing. And I thought, exactly. Now, this is about the Mexican Day of the Dead, which is an ancient thing, very colored by the Catholic Church. It's very religion. But in the whole movie of Coco, they talk about family, heritage, ambition, all those things. There's no mention of the Catholic Church, no mention of the Pope, nothing like that. They took it all out. And I thought that was very smart because it now makes it universal. What's true of all humans? When you're making your story, keep that in mind. Be careful that you don't just talk to the people in your little tribe. We are all born and die the same way. We court, we fall in love, we grieve, we die. We have to learn, we become educated. These are things you must continue to hit because they're universal. No matter where you're making it, you make a movie here in France, if you stick with the universals, it will play everywhere because all humans are the same. I don't know why this is, it really is a pretty simple concept, but you'd be surprised how often this is violated. People have a very small view of what they're doing, and they may. This is the problem with in India with the Bollywood. Those things don't travel.
And in our can, you have exactly the same thing. You talk about the lutte des classes, class lutte. You talk about magical vs technology. You have different international concepts that you are giving to the audience, I think.
Yeah, I think all the theme are universal. Yeah, it's about like brotherhood, sisterhood, family, power, drugs, economic, city, social. I mean, it's still general, but it's all the universe you will develop around it that will make this environment tangible and rich. And for the dubbing aspect, it's not that we do not consider it, but we have to work on the original basis, which is the English recording. So we work on this. And I like to think that Arcane is kind of European series, even though we're taking and working on League of Legends lore and all of this universe. Christian is the showrunner is German. Fortiche is French, and I do like to think that the way we try to bring the acting and the animation is a little bit more European and a little bit less stereotypical than the American acting that we can see on the American feature. We do have like 20 different nationalities in working at Fortiche, from Brazil, Spanish, Italian, English, Colombia, etc., etc. So I think all of that bring a richness as well and some sensitivity to the show.
So I believe we need to conclude, and thank you very much for this exchange. I hope you enjoy it, and we will continue.